Forced to work from home by your employer? Laid off or feeling depressed at home? Do you want to make money working from anywhere? We'll show you how to do it from your couch. It's time for another episode of the Work From Home Show. Coming to you from their homes in Austin, Texas and Tampa, Florida, here are your hosts, Adam and Naresh.
Welcome to another episode of the Work From Home Show. This is your host, Adam Schrader, along with Naresh Vissa, and we are once again joined by Adam Witty, founder and chief executive officer of Advantage Media Group and Forbes Books, best-selling author of Authority Marketing, which we talked about last time, and author of the new book, Relentless Implementation, Creating Clarity, Alignment, and a Working Together Operating System to Maximize Your Business Performance.
Adam, let's talk about your latest book, because you talk about just general business strategy, business performance, and you wrote it with the former CEO of Ford, which is a household name around the country. Let's start with remote teams, because we live in a remote work environment. At least it's looking like it's going to be that way until the end of the year, maybe even into 2022. How can remote teams be more aligned in this work from home environment?
It's actually more important because you're not getting to see each other every single day and take advantage of the impromptu, off the record conversations that happen when you run into somebody in the break room, or you go out to lunch with somebody, or you stop by somebody's desk to catch up. So clarity on what needs to be done, alignment on who's going to do what and how each person's going to support those folks. Clarity and alignment are more important with a remote team than with a team where everybody's in an office together. Now, it's important, period, no matter whether you're in office or remote, but as many companies and many people have made this jump to remote since the COVID pandemic, everything that we're going to talk about is even more important than it was before.
When you're looking at remote working and getting everybody, as y'all say, rowing in the same direction, how do you do it more as a talking to the team, or do you do it more as a one-on-one virtual meetings, or kind of what's the way you found is the best way to go about that?
So the kind of the operating philosophy, the management philosophy that Alan Mulally really kind of brought to the forefront, that he really made famous, is called working together. And Alan was the CEO of Boeing. He was the CEO of Ford. Probably most people remember him at Ford because Ford was the only automaker that did not declare bankruptcy during the financial crisis of 2008 and 2009. He took Ford from a $20 billion a year loss to the most profitable automobile maker in the world. So he orchestrated this incredible turnaround. He did it at Boeing after 2001, 9/11. And then, of course, he did it at Ford during the Great Recession. So here's a guy that has turned around two businesses after serious crises. And working together is really the core of why he was able to get it turned around. And at its core, working together is all about people working together as one with a shared goal and shared values and supporting each other. Now, it seems maybe a little soft. It seems maybe a little, hocus pocus, a little Pollyanna. But in truth, that's what success in any organization is all about. Alignment, everybody agrees what has to be done and is willing to support each other in doing that. And then the clarity of what the end goal is. So that's what working together is. It starts with having a compelling vision of where the team wants to go. It's then followed by having a strategy of how you're going to do it. And then, in my opinion, the hardest part is the relentless implementation of day in and day out, each person taking the actions and doing the things that are necessary to make the plan a reality.
What's your advice to businesses so they can move forward in this changing world? And what's your advice to businesses to avoid becoming irrelevant in this changing world?
So number one, let's face the facts, right? Let's not live in a happy land. Let's live in a realistic land. And so today in 2021, we live in a place with a pandemic, with a recession, with, instability, socially and with government. And so we just have to be very cognizant of what reality is. We also have to look at how technology and how the transformation of technology is making some industries irrelevant and completely turning others on the head. So you start by having a very realistic view of what's going on, and you use facts and data to make and guide all of your decisions, right? So let's accept reality. Let's use facts and data to make our decisions, and then let's create a plan. And let's create a plan to get us from point A to point B. And it takes a leader to spearhead the creation of that plan. Building a plan by committee is a whole lot harder. So you've got to have a strong leader that's willing to say, hey, we're accepting reality. We're using facts and data to make decisions. We've now built a plan to take us from point A to point B. And all of the people on our team are going to, one, get behind the plan. And if they're not willing to get behind the plan, then they need to leave. And B, we're going to hold each other accountable to certain values. We call them principles and practices. But we're going to hold each other accountable to live these values on the journey of going from point A to point B. That's what this is really all about.
When you talk about having that plan, is this like a written out plan that you send to everybody? Is this just like a presentation you give in a virtual meeting? Kind of how do you go about presenting this plan to your workers?
Yeah, this is 100% a written out plan, but it's not to be complicated. We have a 5-year strategic plan at our company, and it all fits on one sheet of paper. And in fact, it's so simple that it can fit on a wallet card that you can literally put in your wallet. It's the size of a credit card. And this was actually something that I learned from my mentor, Alan Mulally. When he became the CEO of Ford, they were really struggling and they were really in bad shape. And they had almost 400,000 employees, but people weren't working together as if they were all on one team. And so it was Alan's job as the leader to craft the vision of where the company was going to go. In other words, going from point A to point B, Alan had to define what point B was going to be. And then he built the strategy of how they were going to go from point A to point B. He called it his One Ford plan. And the One Ford plan was really simple. In fact, you can Google One Ford plan or Alan Mulally wallet card, and you can see his plan for transforming the 7th largest company in the world. His plan was so simple that it could literally fit on a credit card. And it was so simple because he had to convince 400,000 people to get behind this plan. And then after he did that, and he literally created wallet cards and all 400,000 people had the plan in their pocket, every single day, literally for the next 8 years, they relentlessly followed and implemented that plan day in and day out. And the magic of it and what made it work was not just that they had clarity of what the plan was, but they were aligned. They agreed that they were going to commit to holding each other accountable and holding themselves accountable for living the principles and practices of working together. And when you have people that are willing to uphold values that the company or the group agrees to, and you have a clear plan of how you're going to go from point A to point B, you get this crazy thing called working together. And when people are working together, it's amazing what a group of people can accomplish.
So how do you go from a note card, or a wallet card to, that can't have, step-by-step things, obviously. How do you make sure that everybody understands kind of the way you're going to go about doing it, and then that they're actually following that way? Because it seems like it can be kind of nebulous of like, we're going to treat our client right and do this, but everybody might have a different definition of treating the client right. So how do you make sure everybody is, rowing towards, they may be rowing how they think is together, but they might be headed towards different finish lines?
Yeah.
Adam Witty, I want to answer that question with my own personal opinion and see how Ford did it. But if I was the CEO of Ford, huge company, like you said, hundreds of thousands of employees, I would make like a mandatory course or a mandatory module that everyone needs to sign in and watch, and then take a test, like an exam or a test with questions like what Adam Schrader just asked. If you're in this situation, what do you do when you have to answer the questions, right? That way people can take this seriously, understand what the culture is and what the plan actually is, and everyone's on the same page. That's what I would do. But now I'll let you answer the question.
Well, let me answer the first question that you presented, Adam, and that was, okay, well, how do you create a plan? Because, a lot of plans are pretty nebulous. We're going to have the best customer service in the industry. Well, what the heck does that really mean? And so in order for a plan to work, it's got to be more specific. But it doesn't need to be so specific that it can't fit on a wallet card. So I'll give you two examples that Alan actually used at Ford. So when he became the CEO of Ford in 2006, Ford had what they called the oldest lineup of cars in the industry, meaning all of the cars, the current models, were very dated. And so one of the first things that Alan said is, hey, if we're going to literally go from, worst to first, we've got to have the freshest, newest lineup of make and models of cars of any manufacturer. And so Alan came to Ford in 2006. He retired in 2014. He was there for 8 years as the CEO. And when Alan retired, Ford had the freshest, newest lineup of make and model of cars of any major automobile manufacturer. And that's something that you can quantifiably measure, okay? So on the wallet card, it said, have the freshest lineup in make and model of cars of any manufacturer. Now, it didn't get into the detail of all the different ways they were going to do that. But in that one sentence, they could measure their progress on that. It wasn't nebulous. I'll give you one other example. When Alan took over at Ford, it was a house of brands. So they had Ford, they had Mercury, they had Lincoln, they had Volvo, they had Saab, they had Land Rover, they had Aston Martin. They had all of these different cars that they made. And Alan said, this is crazy. We need to build one Ford and one brand. And the story is, Alan even wanted to get rid of Lincoln. Of course, he was persuaded not to do that, but every other brand went away. Volvo was sold, Saab was sold, Land Rover was sold, Aston Martin was sold, Mercury was shut down. And so today, Ford Motor Company makes Fords and they make Lincolns. So they went from, I think, 7 brands down to 2 brands. Alan believed that you could create higher quality cars and trucks if you were focused on 2 instead of 7. So that was a part of his One Ford plan. Again, he didn't go into all the specifics of how he was going to do it, but you could measure going from 7 to 2 pretty easily, and it was something that you could easily put on a wallet card.
So what do you think about Naresh's idea? I'm going to guess you wouldn't go with it. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I don't want to call out my podcast host, who was so
Go
kind,
for it.
so kind to interview me. I probably wouldn't do it that way. What Alan would tell you is you create a compelling vision, you create a comprehensive strategy to drive that vision and make it a reality, and then you talk about it relentlessly. You talk about it, you do it, you exhibit the behaviors day in and day out, and most people will get on board. And the people that don't want to get on board, it's really easy. If they're not willing to get on board, they can't be a part of the team. And so they, in essence, are making the decision that they don't want to be a part of the team. They don't want to be a part of the company anymore. And then, you guys shake hands and part ways as friends. So, getting people on board is really about proactively demonstrating and nudging people. It isn't about forcing people to do something that they don't want to do.
Adam Witty, founder and CEO of Advantage Media Group and Forbes Books, best-selling author of multiple books, including his new one with former Ford CEO Alan Mullally, Relentless Implementation, Creating Clarity, Alignment, and a Working Together Operating System to Maximize Your Business Performance. The website is adamwitty.com. That's WITTY, adamwitty.com. Advantage Media Group's website is advantagefamily.com, Advantage Family. Adam Witty, any final thoughts you want to share with our listeners or anything else you want to promote?
Well, I would say this, starting and growing and operating a business is not easy. There are so many things that you've got to get right. And, for me as an entrepreneur, I started my business when I was 22 years old. It was right out of college. And so, I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. I was trying things out, and if they worked, sweet. And if they didn't work, I was learning the hard way. And so for anybody that's listening that has a business of their own, that wants to start a business, give yourself a little bit of slack and realize that you're going to make mistakes. And it's completely okay to make mistakes. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just get better the next go around. The second thing that I would say is that hands down, the hardest job in business, in entrepreneurship, is getting a customer. And so understanding marketing, believing in the power of marketing, and really wanting to apply yourself and learn as much as you can about marketing is probably the most important skill that any and every entrepreneur really needs to have.
Adam Witty, thanks so much for joining us on the Work From Home show. It's been a phenomenal series of episodes that we've been able to conduct with you. We appreciate your time. To all our listeners, check us out at workfromhomeshow.com. That's www.workfromhomeshow.com. If you have any questions or want to reach out to us, email us at hello@workfromhomeshow.com. That's hello@workfromhomeshow.com. Check us out on all podcasting networks, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We are anywhere and everywhere. Leave us a review, take a screenshot, email us at hello@workfromhomeshow.com. We'll send you back a goodie, something that will be worth your time. And until next time and next week, keep on working from home.